G'day, Hawks fans. Welcome to Talking Hawks, your one-stop shop for all things Hawthorn. We connect Hawthorn fans from all around the globe and put them into one place. I've got Mitch alongside me. We aren't in our usual places of being. We might explain that towards the end. But, Mitch, it's been a heck of an ending to the trade period, and the last half an hour was it seemed like a mess from the outside, but we got through it.
Yeah, it was trying to get some updates, mate, of what's coming through just before we got on, and looks like everything's gone through that was sort of rumoured to go on through today, but there's always a few twists and turns and leaving it to the last minute, but we'll dissect that in the show tonight, and yeah, we'll get into it.
Yeah, we absolutely will be, but fans, this is for you. We need you to get in those comments and just give us all your opinions, the good, the bad, and the ugly, whatever you thought of our trade period. I'm going to bring up what the Hawks brought in and took out in just a second, but we want you filling up that comment section. We want you telling us what you thought was good, what you thought was bad, and everything in between. But, mate, it was headlined by Karl Amon at the start, and then it turned into the ending where we picked up Lloyd, Meek, and some future picks.
Yeah, well, like you said, headlined by Karl Amon. I think that was sort of the big news. Not exactly unexpected. It was coming out in about August that he was going to nominate us to come over. But yeah, picked up a good couple of youngsters. I don't know much about him personally, but I know that you are the draft guru and trade guru, mate, and you loved it. So good to see. And Michael's on your bandwagon as well, mate. So that's good. Gunston does hurt George. Sad to see him go, and we'll get into that. We will get into that.
Yeah, Gunston does hurt, of course. And just before, because they're flooding in already, you can get on board the Talking Hawks podcast as well, where you can dissect our thoughts and our opinions. Of course, we want the fans to run the show on these live streams. Cody putting a bit of pressure on Cooper Stevens already. Better be an actual stud. Let's wait and see, mate. He doesn't decide the trade, but we'll get into all of that. There are some frustrated fans out there. Mackenzie has to go. Let's wait and see. Last year's draft was a ripper. But my takeaway from this, mate, I want to get your opinion as well as CJ jumps in. Mate, we're going beautifully. We hope you are too. This screams that Sam Mitchell wants to coach his own team, and he doesn't want to coach anyone else's, for good or bad, which for mine, I see it as a good thing.
Yeah, I agree, mate. He's clearly making up for maybe, I guess, what you could probably call some errors in the later half of Clarkson's tenure. Probably was, focused on topping up players, and instead of maybe going to the draft a little bit earlier, we're clearly doing that now. As you said, I think he's trying to make it his team and really put a stamp on the side. It's probably going to lead to a season or two of, unfortunately, maybe some hidings and some losses, but I think in the long run we'll be better for it, and we just got to stay patient as Hawks fans.
Yeah, well, we're going to see if it's a year of pain. I'm not sure if I share that entirely, but what the Hawks brought in is fantastic. Unfortunately, my photo isn't quite working at the moment, and by mine, I mean Mitch, our man, the guru. There we go. It's just come through. Fantastic. So that's what's happened with the trade hand. We got Karl Amon, pick 48, a future second and a future fourth in what is supposedly a stacked draft next year, which is fantastic. Cooper Stevens and Lloyd Meek. So we've now got 4 ruckmen on the list for good or for worse. But those outs, Jack Gunston, a Hawthorn hero, Tom Mitchell, the Brownlow medalist, and Jaeger, who gets to go home to WA along with his beautiful partner. So they'll get to spend the foreseeable future in WA. And we'll start with the ins, mate. They're usually the positives. Lloyd Meek, it's an interesting one for me. 4 ruckmen on a list.
Yeah, it is. Obviously, Ben McEvoy departing, so I guess there was room for a ruckman in theory. I don't know much about him, but I think, did you say he was playing blank? Daz, where'd he come from? Freo.
Yeah, back up to Sean Darcy. To
Sean Darcy, yeah.
Just sensing we're light on for experience in the mids. I think that's going to be the story of the off-season, and I can't blame Keen for their story there. The collaboration episode, that is going to come later on. We got George here. The new era is here. I love that sentence just right there. Looks like it'll be starting this year, going for at least a few. Well, however long it goes for, we're going to be here for the ride here at Talking Hawks. It's going to be fantastic. Decent ruck. Yeah, I believe that Decent kind of sells him a bit short. He has been a big boy, throws himself around. We saw how unlucky Max Lynch was in his first season, and we're hoping things go to plan. But there's his dimensions, mate. He's bloody big and he's bloody strong.
Straight into the side, Daz, or do you play much next year?
Yeah, I think if we're using the old US depth chart, I would probably have him second as the rucks. Yep. So Twomey, yep. The 4, so Reeves, Lynch, Meek, and Maxi Ramsden, who came in for the mid-season draft last year. Obviously going to go 2 rucks in the side, says Stephen. I probably agree with you. Reeves is the only one that can play as a resting forward. Well, Lloyd Meek did win Peel Thunder's best and fairest. Yes, he was as a ruckman originally, but he has played a little bit forward in his, I think his draft year, definitely. But the new era is here, seeming to be the theme. Mark McKenzie, mate, he's copping it a bit. Fair, not fair? Where do you stand?
Oh, I think it's always going to be, a little bit contentious. I think, offloading a few players that inexperienced, but I think we need to look to youth. And I don't think there's a right answer, but we'll see how it plays out.
Yeah, Jacob, you're currently winning my favourite comment contest. I wish I had a prize for you, but it's a shame to see both Mitchell and O'Meara go. But at the end of the day, we're focusing on the future. Can't wait to see it pan out. I couldn't agree more. I know Jimmy Warple's going to be the guy who is going to cop a lot of the, not necessarily criticism, but a lot of the questioning around his role and what happens. Twomey there, Mitchell was given away for nothing. Cooper Stevens and, a little bit of this and that. I know in that trade, but was given away for nothing. I think Sam, in the end, just wants to play with his squad. We've seen what happens with his side. How will our midfield hold up? Well, I think the first month, Dan, she ain't going to be pretty. She ain't going to be pretty at all, but they'll figure it out.
There'll be a lot of learning experiences in there. They will figure it out. There will be a lot of learning experiences, I think. But, that remains to be seen.
Yeah, Warple's one of best and fairest, of course. Jai's just come second. Josh Ward, top 10 draft pick. Connor McDonald, we didn't get to see a whole lot in there. Dylan Moore, Connor Nash, Cooper Stevens. I saw a comment there. Is Stevens injury prone? I'll learn how to talk in a minute. Yes, but his injuries have been incidental. So things like he's breaking a leg. He's done this, he's done that. It hasn't really been footy injuries, if there is such a positive when it comes to blokes getting hurt. We never want to see blokes getting hurt, but if you are trading in guys, then you're trading in guys that are, if they're going to be injury played, you want them to have non-footy injuries. Warps gets a big chance. I agree. What do you think of this, mate? Scrimmer to play in the midfield as an outside mid.
It's different. I'm all for moving the pieces around and seeing, what fits and just playing around with a few things. We'll see how it plays out next year. We're going to be light on in there. I think I'm seeing a few comments on Warple getting his chance. I think he's probably one that we're going to look to improve on his last year or two. I know Hawks fans sort of like to go after Jimmy a little bit and, did get injured this year. But I think he's got a really good opportunity now with a lean midfield, no Mitchell, no Yags. Get back into that side and play the footy that we know he can. He's the best and fairest winner. So I think that's where I'd be looking.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that the Hawks are going to want to... Pick swaps are still available. So Hawks fans, if you're thinking our draft hand at the moment, which is 6, 24, and I think we get into the 41s, the 48s, I think we've got 52 and 65 around there. I might have missed one, but pick swaps can still happen. So don't stress. Things are coming around and we can still work our way back into the draft. So yes, I'm all for reacting by all means. That's what we want to do here, but it's not done. We're not done just yet. And the Hawks, we're never in the market for a big fish, and we're not going to be in 2 years' time. Ben King comes out of contract. So does Noah Anderson. I mean, if you're going to throw some money, there's a couple of good ones to start there. And if we're being honest, mate, we should have Noah anyway. These father-son rules can, oh boy. I can understand where you're coming from, Chris, but the last time that happened, he won the BNF. So I'm not saying he's going to do it again, by all means, but, let's wait and see. Let's wait it out. We're heading into cricket season. We're just there yet. Let's enjoy that, and then we'll get stuck into it, of course. But how do you feel as a Hawthorn supporter, mate? How are you feeling that we're in a period, probably the biggest period since 2005, where we've probably been the furthest away from a flag that we've been since that time? How do you feel about it?
I'm optimistic. I'm probably a glass half full kind of person. I think, look, it's disappointing when, we're not up there winning flags, but we've got to be realistic in the fact that we've seen quite a lot of success, not just over, during the three-peat era or 2008, but like pretty much throughout our whole history. We are going to have these down periods, and we need to accept that is part of the league. The league is designed to win a flag every 18 years. We are well ahead of that. I think if we stay patient, and just see what's to come next year. Obviously, it's hard to say sitting here in October, as much as we like to. It is hard to say what next year's going to look like. It's probably going to be few wins. However, they were tipping that at the start of this year, and we probably surprised a few and had a good win. So I'm optimistic. I think a new era is probably a good way to put it, and remains to be seen how we go. But let's not get stuck into them too early. Let's just see what happens.
Yeah, exactly right. And yeah, what happens in the draft period for me is where I'm just so excited because we're not done live pick trading. We can trade. We're probably not going to give away future draft picks. Next year's looks good. We've got young Will McCabe, who is Luke's boy. Of course, the Hawthorn fans have got some fondness of 2001, where, of course, Luke was a big part of that. Who will be around at pick 6? Well, Rod, I've got some good news for you. You can find out who we think is going via the Talking Hawks podcast. I know Smithy and I covered a lot of the Mitchell and Jaeger rumors, but intertwined in that episode, we talk about who we think we should take at pick 6, and Smithy and I agree. So go check that out. I'm looking forward to what is coming next. Hawks fans, keep flooding that comment section. We're well over 100 people watching right now, which is fantastic. So I just want to take this moment until we go to the next bit. If you're not subscribed to us on YouTube, please go do so. The road to 1K has been a long one. It has so been worth it. These live streams are so much fun, and we love hearing from you. So get on board YouTube. If you're not following us on Twitter, go do so. We share content there a lot. We transfer it over to Facebook, of course, the Talking Hawks podcast, Apple, Spotify, and Google on the board. I don't understand Darren. Surely Mitchell gets that. I mean, no, he's not. He actually gets a chance to coach his own team. So stick fat, my friend. I promise you, there are going to be greener pastures.
There will. I like I said, I do like the new era. Mitchell's only had it, a year in the coach's seat. I think it's probably a little bit premature. Tom, you are spot on there, mate. We don't have many luck with father sons. However, we can't do much about that. Just got to sit and take it. Daz, Karl Amon's one for me that I think is clearly the best get for us. Not probably the worst kept secret all year. I think it come to us pretty early that he was going to come. I believe he was Port's leading Brownlow.
Yeah, a bit of an anomaly there, I think, but he's just noticeable when he gets the footy, which is what we need, a bit of cleanness. I know experience has gone out. He's part of the experience that comes in when you look at Wingard and Frost and these guys who didn't play a lot in the back end of the year. I love how hot-headed we are as Hawks fans, but I promise you, stick tight, Fender Nation there, Amon important. I think he's going to be important. He doesn't need to win the Peter Crimmins medal for him to be fantastic. So I'm looking forward to seeing him. Barry here. Now, I have been throwing this out there for as long as I can remember. I've gotten plenty wrong, and I'll put my hand up for that. But Will Day as a midfielder, once he puts the size on, my goodness, I want this man in there. Mainly because it's either that or draft a kid that is his pretty much exact size, exact weight, and has played as a midfielder all year in Mateus Philippou. Yeah, Amon would have been ideal outside Mitchell. He doesn't win his own ball. He had Wines and Boak feeding him at Port. The feeding part is true, but my question is, why can't Jai and Jimmy Warple feed him? I understand Tom Mitchell, yes, Brownlow medalist compared to two guys that aren't at that level, but I think he's still going to take it, and his contested ball went maybe a little bit underrated. So Hawthorn fans keep flooding in. So Cooper Stevens for mine is the one that I'm looking at going, his spot in the best 22 is going to have the most competition. I also can't really see us trading in a 21-year-old who's not going to play. So where does that
Correct.
stand? Does he become one of the replacements for Jaeger or Tom? I hope so.
Yeah, it's a good question. It's a good question. I think that's probably a good way to put it. Really, does that? He, if we're getting him into the club, it's for a reason. We're not just taking him. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see how everything plays out.
I know we're not going to touch too much on the draft, but Mark, I wonder whether we go for someone like Jefferson now and focus on the forward line. I'm with you. If I had my power rankings board at the moment, Matt Jefferson would be number 2 behind Phillip, who I still think the midfielder, is Sam really going to look at pick 6 now and go, would you rather have pick 6 or Cooper Stevens? I still think we're going to go for the midfielder first, but like you, I would be so tempted to throw it at Matty Jefferson. I like him. A bit of agreement for Stevens in the midfield. No midfielders, says Chris. Okay, interesting. There's going to be plenty of forwards around. Ideally, if we could trade up and take Shiels, I mean, that would be ideal. That would be extremely ideal. But I'm still a big fan of Braden George. I know Hawthorn fans are going to go, he's done his ACL. So did Elijah Hollins in his draft year, and we saw how good he played against us. Need a centre half forward. Well, that would be Matty Jefferson, Fender in this case, but he'll take some time, of course. And it's, we're here to make sometimes big calls, but this is make or break for Cozzy this year.
Yeah, and a good question, Matt. Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. I've just seen a good question pop up from Talking Hawks, whoever's running that. I assume it's Matty. But if the Hawks are committing hardcore to a rebuild, what do you rate the trading period so far out of 10? Fans, let's hear your comments. Daz, what are you rating the trade period out of 10? I know we spoke before we came on air. You were pretty happy. What are you giving it out of 10?
Oh, you've asked me this question for one specific reason, because I hate doing this. So this is what happens when you know each other for 9 years. You do this to me. If I'm going to give it a grade, which I don't really want to, I'm going to say 6. Yes, we lost a lot, but what we've got in made sense. It's not necessarily the greatest deals we could have got. I'm with all the Hawthorn fans. Mitchell for 41 seems unders to me, but we don't know who 41 is. I mean, Hurd went at 73 and was in the 70s, and Chris Grant went at 103. So we don't know. It does.
And let's remember, we do have a proven track record of finding some late round gems. So let's not get too far ahead of ourselves.
Yeah, exactly right.
7 for Ben, 6, Tom 5. So maybe sort of that middle ground, I think, is a popular opinion. Keep rolling in with your opinion, Hawks fans.
And I like this drive-by Chris too, by the way. It's going to improve our kicking efficiency. Oh, boy. All right, Chris. Our man behind the scenes going beautifully. A lot of love for Harry Shiels. Plenty of grades. It's seemingly 5, 6, 7. Fender there. What's wrong with Cozzy, Peter? On the surface, body-wise, nothing. It's if you're looking at the guys who are going to be out of contract next year and positionally what might be available, he's probably the guy most under the pump. I think it's as simple as that. Big Ben here. I'm not fully against the reset. Most annoyed at the names we've lost and never really improved the draft hand. Ben, I kind of agree with you and I understand where you're coming from. But the draft hand ain't over yet. So let's hang in there. I know a lot of clubs are wanting to trade out their picks in the 40s to get into next year because we keep getting told it's a super draft. Yes, 01 and 2018 were super drafts, but we also got told, I think it was 2006, and that draft is fine. So just wait and see. Let's look at what we've already got. Already, I see Cozzy and Lynch out next year. They're probably the two that stand out, Mark, in terms of pressure. So I can understand where you're coming from there, mate. Take Jai Clark just to PO Geelong. Why? He's the same size. Okay. Why is probably the wrong question. But drafting to annoy the team under you does not make any sense. I think Jai is going to be a 200-game player, but he's not what the Hawks need. Not for me. Ed Allen seemingly getting some love, which I like. His back end of the year at Colts level was outstanding. Also, players like Bramble, people have forgotten about. Barry, you can add me to that list because I seemingly forget we've got Bramble all the time. Not saying I don't like him or he's a bad player. That's not my point at all. But whenever I'm bringing Hawthorn players to the table, he just seems to slip my mind. So I'm glad you came up. 30 becomes 35 after father and son. Yeah, but at the end of the day, you're still picking 35th because you can't control the father-sons anyway. So You can look at it. Essendon pick 22 should be gettable, I'm seeing. I'm not entirely sure how. Allen be gone by our second pick. Matt, I agree. I think he's the kind of guy that a top team in the back end of the first round might take a chance on, like a Sydney, for example. They've got 2 first-round picks. They've got Melbourne's as well. So he could be the guy that they reach for, a bit like they did with Angus Sheldrick last year. That definitely could be the case. I'm kind of confident that he's going to be there. I don't know why.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm just hoping. John's
Brooks
happy?
John. Brooks just
John's
made a good
happy,
point
I'm
as
happy.
well. Yeah, absolutely. Brooks made a good point as well. Don't forget, Mitchell wanted out, so did Gunner and O'Meara. That is the case. O'Meara obviously has asked to be traded. Mitchell, I think, was probably on the fence, and Gunner's obviously walked out. He was a free agent. So I think that is important to remember. You don't really want to be keeping too many players there that don't really want to be there. I think Jaeger was out of contract next year anyway, wasn't he? So he probably would have walked next year. At the end of next year, if he wanted to leave, he was going back home anyway. So it's Michael. How do we catch your podcasts? I believe they're on all the platforms, aren't they, Daz? We post them on social media as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So Apple Podcasts, Google, and Spotify. You're going to find all them. We'll also chuck them in the description of this video, or if wherever you follow us, whatever social media, whether it's Facebook or Twitter, go on our page and you'll find the links. We're posting every episode there. So, Michael, how do you watch them? They're audio only, mate. So they're just listening. So you can chuck your headphones on, you can chuck your phone in your pocket, and you can go about your day, whether you're running an errand or doing this or that. You get about 20 minutes of a couple of the Talking Hawks guys on, and we're going to be okay. Jaeger played 99 for the Hawks. Hope we don't rue that in 18 to 20 years' time. Yeah, we could miss out on the best-looking father-son of all time if that's what Jaeger's doing to us. My goodness, those genetics. They were fine till we shopped them around last year. Interesting. Didn't exactly show them any love. Matt.
Not a bad call,
okay.
mate. Yeah,
it's an interesting one. Ollie Hollins is getting a bit of love. I don't think we take him at 6. I think he's going to go sort of in the 12s. I think he's definitely going to be a teens pick. So if we do trade up into that, I think him and Ollie Houghton are going to be. I wonder what the average age is now. Probably 16 and a half. Mr. Cheese, that's what it's feeling like from a couple of people. So, but no, our average age will drop. I think we'll be second to Essendon if I do the math, because both of us have only got one player over 30 on our list, ours being Luke Bruce and the Bombers being Dyson Heppel. Here's an interesting question.
Yeah.
Hang on, I'll get this answer first, and then we'll go into there. So who's our captain and vice captain now, Mitch? Give us your conclusive answer.
Sicily as captain, I think.
Vice?
Vice. Oh, good question. Let me think on that. I'll get you to answer while I have a brainstorm there. Sicily captain for mine. I think he's the right age profile. He's just the way to do it. Vice for me, I think a bit kind of like Gunners. It'll be a guy who mightn't be, media savvy and then might work into that role. That's where I look at someone like Dimmer. Yeah.
A guy who's not really media savvy, but maybe if he does a few more things. Matt's on my side here. Let's talk Hawthorn like it. Will Day Vice, he might be the biggest footy nuffy. And I met Will at the sponsors night and I asked him if I could say this and he said yes. He is an absolute footy nerd, Will. So I'm okay with that. Still pick up a couple of sliders in the draft, of course. I know we didn't see him throughout 2022, but Arlo Draper and Zach Taylor for Collingwood and Adelaide fell in the 40s. Dylan Moore, another. Oh, how did I not say my man? My goodness.
I was actually going to say that. I saw Dylan Moore pop up, and Daz hasn't said him, but that's a good call.
Sicily and Moore, maybe, I like it.
Brenda's just beat me to the punch. Bruce, maybe. I think he's the oldest player on the list now. I think the only player left from our 2015 grand final win, just on that, by the way.
Yeah, absolutely. I can still remember it like it was yesterday. I was 17 years old, so nothing untoward was happening in terms of Amber Ale. Mum and Dad, if you're listening. Blake, an outside shout. I'm going to assume you mean for the captaincy. I'm going to say no, I just don't. He exudes
He doesn't seem
to
want it, does he?
He exudes so much of an inner leader. He just seems like a follow me and I'll take you to where you want to go. But I think so much of the captaincy these days is outside media, and I think that's got to be taken into account. And to me, just doesn't seem like that kind of guy, and that's absolutely fine. But I think we're going to improve the draft hand from here. The Hawks, we're going through a change at the moment, and I do not mind it at all. So 6 and 24 are the picks right now that we are looking at. And let me tell you, if we get Mateus Philippou with pick 6, I am going to be over the moon. I know it seems like a reach, but 194 centimetres as a midfielder who kicks snags. Yes, please. Paul Edwards here. Froster's vice captain. The big Frosty. I said g'day to Frosty the other day, actually. So not that he'll care.
Some connection issues, guys. Are we both on? Can you hear me, Daz? Or?
Yeah, I've got you, mate.
I'm hoping I don't have to take over this, as I'm not the best with end of season stuff. Can you hear me, Daz? Or?
Yeah, I've got you, mate. Mitch might have dropped out on us, I think. I'll drop Mitch out there, guys. Apologies for that. I'll try and get him back in. Philippou has so much upside. Absolutely. Peter Lewis, captain. I'll tell you what, that would be an extraordinary left field call. An extraordinary left field call. Cooper Stevens and use pick 6 for a mid to replace John and Mitch is a good move. Well, I like kind of the way you're going here, Con. Unfortunately, we can't trade players anymore. So that's it. Essendon need points for father-son. Yes, because of Alwyn Davies. Alwyn? Yeah, he was the Essendon player. Yes, he do. We could trade up for one of their high picks. I think we could. I definitely think we could. Yeah, you're back, mate.
Yeah, very good. Very good.
Back in business.
Connection issues.
No, that's okay. So there we go there. Philippou and Allen are both 194 centimetres. So I wonder if we take Philippou first and risk whatever happens next, or do we take someone else at 6 and risk Allen being there? Would be extraordinary. Glenn, here's something controversial, Mitch. Co-captains.
Yeah,
Thoughts?
Doesn't... no, I don't like co-captains. Was it... someone come out and said that... Was it Kennett that said no co-captains? Someone it happened like maybe 15 years ago, and someone said, we're going to go to Hodge and Mitchell as co-captains. And I think Jeff shot it down and said, no, we don't have co-captains at Hawthorn. Pick one. Hodgie ended up saying go with Mitchell. And then that's when they swapped in 2012 or something. Okay. I think I've got that one right.
I hope so. But yeah, Kennett said no captains is coming through for everyone, not for it. Yeah, completely agree. Worked well for Richmond this year, didn't it? Worked out beautifully. So, Hawks fans, I know how you're feeling right now. We know that we're in a phase, but we're about to wrap it up. But I've got one more question for you, and I want Mitch's answer. I'm going to give you my answer, but we are going to go a way too early prediction. Way too, and we're not going to come back to this video. It's all going to be satire and all that. But Hawks fans, we're going to get a bottom 6 fixture, which means we're only going to play 2 top 8 teams from last year twice. So that's a good thing. Start there. Mitch, how many games do we win next year? Hawthorn fans, how many wins are we going to have next year? I'm looking forward to finding out. Get your comments in. I'll let you think about it, Mitch. I think you might have just dropped out on mute, mate. If you want to check
I'm getting a couple of comments saying people can't hear. Can people hear me now, or we good?
I hope you're good, mate. But we're getting some comments in.
I think I'm back. Nine's very optimistic. I hope that's...
I like it. Adrian's got splinters because he won't actually give us a number. He's given us a range, but I like it. 7 or 8 still. I mean, I would take 8. I really do. How do we navigate the Tavi expansion team when we are halfway through a rebuild? Ben, that is a fantastic question. We're actually going to use that for a podcast episode, mate, in the future. We've got that written down. So I'm hoping whoever's running the Talking Hawks behind the scenes grabs a screenshot of that so we can give you the shout out at the time. Greg's gone 10 and Chad's gone 2. So that's kind of the range that we're working for here. Cody, 4 wins and pick 1. Praying in pick 1. I mean, the last pick 1 we had worked out all right. I was pretty happy with that. Yeah. Another 10 there. And of course, Hawks fans, we just don't recruit any Tasmanians. I think that's just going to mean kind of like Gold Coast and GWS came in. We weren't in a rebuild. We were able to exploit the free agency market. Might be a bit more difficult now. Adrian, I've peer pressured him into a result Mark there, I want Harley Reid, so let's get the spoon. Harley looks like a gun player, but we'll wait and see. Pick one, Harley Reid. Everyone's loving Harley Reid at the moment. But Hawks fans, we're about to wrap this up. Thank you so much for joining us in our trade period reaction. We look forward to jumping on with you soon. Hopefully the Hawks can get some draft pick in the door because we've got plenty on the table. Mark McKenzie did say that they only want to use 4 selections, 5 maybe. And I think we've got 6 at the moment. So things are happening. Stay with us, Hawks fans. You can follow the podcast on Google, Apple, and Spotify. Brooke and Mark, remind me to get that $10 to you as soon as I can for saying that.
You use that one a bit, Daz.
No, I do, mate. The people are nice to us. The fans are fantastic, and we appreciate all their work and all their reactions. The Hawthorn Footy Club's best club, and the reason why is because we've got the best fans. So,
Absolutely.
guys, thank you for joining us, Mitch. It's been an absolute pleasure, mate. And, of course, Hawks fans, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. The road to 1K continues. If you're commenting this right now, and you're not subscribed to us on YouTube, please do that. Please do that.
Exactly.
The road to 1K, the 4 figures is what we're hoping for by the end of the calendar year. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you soon. Catch the podcast. Follow us on Twitter. And, Mitch, until next time, my friend, you know how we end this show traditionally, and that is... Go the Hawks.
Go the Hawks.